Hello, we are with our guest, Professor Katie Pichora-Fuller today. Before I begin to my questions, I would like to thank you for acceptation our invitation. It's an honor to make an interview with you. My first question is, how did you meet audiology?
Well, in Canada, people are trained in audiology when they do their master's degree. And people come from a variety of different undergraduate university degrees. And my first undergraduate degree was in language and literature and linguistics. So I was very interested in everything about communication. And then that in turn changed into an interest in people who could not communicate. And people with hearing loss became the most interesting to me. And I was very interested in perception of language. So it kind of became a little bit of a clinical application of some of my early training in linguistics.
Thank you. My next question is, in your opinion, is only audiology education sufficient to succeed in the field of audiology? If not enough, in which areas should we support ourselves?
Okay, so I have three things to say there. One is I'm very happy to talk to you in Turkey. I just finished another Zoom meeting with students in Eastern Canada. And even though I'm retired, I still love working with students. So learning is the thing that keeps us all alive. All of the older adults I work with who are retired, they want to keep learning and they want to keep learning about their own hearing loss. So I think all countries do not have the same opportunities to learn about audiology. And I think that's, for the world, as more countries have more people trained, then we'll all be better off. So in Canada, we have very good training. It started around the 1970s, so much later than in the US. And we developed our own way of doing audiology according to our needs. And I think that's kind of the second point is that what you learn today, the world will be different in 10 years or in 20 years. We'll probably all have robots talking to people and we'll have all kinds of artificial intelligence. And so you can train today, but you have to really learn to learn so that as the world changes, you can change too. And so in this sense, it's hard to answer the question if it's sufficient, because I don't know what we're going to need to know 20 years from now. But I know if you're good students, you will solve those problems. When I graduated, there were no cochlear implants. When I graduated, we were just starting to do ABRs. So it wasn't that long ago. But now we just do it every day. But I never learned about it as a student. So you have to learn to learn. You have to know your theories. And of the theories, the third point is, a lot of people learn about speech perception and acoustics and anatomy of the ear. And those things are always relevant. But I think the most relevant and the most needed today is to know more about social factors and social psychology and health psychology. So I think we need some new theories to answer some of the current problems, such as stigma. So we will never have enough knowledge. We always need more.
My third question is, what would you advise to audiology students about their careers? What path should they follow in career planning?
Well, I think for anybody starting a career, it's very important to decide or to understand what actually interests you. So, and I think your enthusiasm will come from your patients. So, I worked in the clinic for a number of years, and people were telling me about their experience of hearing loss. And I didn't have solutions. So it made me do a PhD to try to find answers to their solutions. So as a researcher, I can still see, the patient who taught me something, and I want to find the answer for that person. Now, there's many, many other people with the same sorts of complaints, but my work uniting auditory and cognitive aging was exactly because I wanted to understand why the older adults who were beginning to have problems not understanding in noise, even if they weren't really having audiograms that made them candidates for hearing aids, they had problems. And what was going wrong, and how are we going to help them? So I think, how the future develops will come from your own interests, and you should always listen to your patients and try to understand their problems. And then, their passions will turn into your passions, and then the whole world will benefit.
Thank you. My fourth question is, what are your suggestions for making a difference in the field of audiology?
Well, I'm going to answer in a maybe a little different way than some of the other people you interview. So, if I had a magic wand and I could change some things about audiology, hearing aids are wonderful devices, and they keep getting better and better. And cochlear implants are wonderful devices. And there are brilliant assistive technologies. I mean, we could even think about Zoom as a new assistive technology. But what I think is unbalanced is that we are too focused on technology, and we need to be more focused on the person. And we also need to think about, I love the WHO ICF model, the International Classification of Functioning. So if you look in that model, it also has to do with the person's environment. And this is an approach to disability, is that it's not people that are the problem, it's the environments that are not hospitable to people. So I really wish we could get out of the sound booth, and we could get out of the ear, and we could do more than hearing aids, and actually have a more comprehensive rehabilitation approach that looks at communities and accessibility, and acoustics and the built environment, and the behaviors of people in the world, whether it's in a store or a bank or a hospital, so that they can do their part communicating with people with hearing loss. And that we also have in our rehabilitation ways of supporting the person's psychological adaptation. So the WHO definition of healthy aging is to provide the opportunities and environments for older people to do and be what they value. And hearing is a part of that, but it's only a part of that bigger picture. And my favorite definition of health in general is a health promotion definition, which is that health is being able to adapt to, respond, and control life's challenges and changes. So for people who have to live with hearing loss, maybe we can't fix their hearing, but we can help them to adapt and function as well as possible. So I just think that we are doing a good job with what we understand about the ear and with hearing aids, but we still have a long way to go to reach the whole person.
Thank you. My next question is, could you share your 3 golden rules for life in general?
Oh, life in general. Well, that's fun because now I'm retired. And so I get a pension instead of a paycheck. But I still do things like talk to you, or I have other students, I'm not teaching them courses and I'm not their supervisors, but they want to do research. And they say, hey, can I do a research project with you? And I say, sure, because anybody who wants to learn, that's fun for me. So basically, fun, fun, fun. Do fun things with fun people for fun purposes. So I don't do it for my paycheck. I do it because, it's going to make a difference in the world and a difference in other people's lives, whether they're students or people with hearing loss. So I think anything you do, if sometimes you have to do things that may be unpleasant, but if you have choices, it's always a delight if you can choose to work on important things with like-minded people. That's going to advance the good of the world. So I think that's how we make a difference in audiology, and it's how you make a difference for everything else. If you're a parent, it's not fun to change diapers, but you still do it because it's important and it makes a difference to your child's life. And so it's a little bit like the definition of health. It's not that you don't ever have things to do that may be challenging or not the most intrinsically rewarding, but in the end, try to do things that are going to improve yourself and improve others.
My last question is, what are your expectations from young people in the field of audiology?
Well, I hope that you're honest and you are students and you're studying. And one of the things that I'm very concerned about in the world today and also in audiology is misinformation. And I'm happy that you reached out to talk to real people yourselves directly and not just read what's on social media. And I think audiology is at risk. I'm very interested in the connections between hearing and cognition. And it disturbs me when people insinuate that and sometimes make outright claims that, if you get a hearing aid, you won't get dementia. Well, there is no evidence for that. Certainly not today. I don't know if there ever will be in the future because it's a complicated question. And oversimplifying and actually saying things that are not backed up by evidence are harmful to the profession and harmful to the public. So I really hope as students that you are mindful of doing evidence-based practice and learn how to talk to real scientists and talk to real patients and read real journal articles and think critically. And if you see inconsistencies, speak up, because we do not want to have a profession that isn't solidly based on evidence. And evidence comes from research, but it also comes from expert clinicians and it comes from our patients. And we have to put that all together and just be very vigilant that, we are being as honest as we can be. So I hope that you help with that and that all the other students out there today help with keeping us all honest.
So that was all. Thank you, Mrs., for participating to our People Contributing to Audiology project. We have been enlightened from your experience and advices.